Kind of wonder, I didn't even look yesterday. Sometimes I do a little bit of reconnaissance. Let me see how many people are streaming Half-Life Alyx right now. Because streaming VR is a little bit more difficult, so I can imagine that it wouldn't be nearly as many. That being said, it is a good game. Quite a few. More than I had initially assumed. Now I'm counting, so I want to get a good number. $43, $44, $45, $46, $47, $48, $49, $50. I have to get to the bottom at some point. A lot of people streaming with just one viewer, which, I mean, I've been there. Okay. 69, 70, 71. Holy cow, so many more streaming with 0 viewers. There we go, okay. 72, 73, 74, 75. 75 rows of 5. Plus the 8 that I saw at the top. 383 people streaming Half-Life Alyx right now. Never mind as far as jumping in and not being completely saturated. That being said, I would totally stream any game that people who tuned in wanted to see. But yeah. Strat says, I like the technology, but it wasn't for me. Hell, I don't enjoy 3D glasses at the movies either. I am kind of the same way. It has to be perfect, or closer to perfect for me than I guess the average person, because I would get motion sickness if there's any lag at all. Between 0 and 45. The yeah, if it has any kind of stutteriness or motion lag at all, then that really starts to give me a bit of the VR sickness, which I used to call it motion sickness, but I do think it's important to make that distinction that it is the opposite of motion sickness, where instead of your body's moving and your eyes don't see something moving, it's the opposite. But what I've experienced so far with the HTC Vive that I picked up has been really good. I optimized my settings for performance first, and that's been really good for me. And of course the game design also really helps, and in this case Valve has really polished it in a way that has made it very easy on the eyes. The way that, like, even if you have subtitles on, the way that they lock in place until you move a certain distance away, and then they kind of follow and lock in place again, like it makes them easy to read without you having to like wobble around and read things. But yeah, no, the frame rate and everything had to be good, and so I'm the type that I would need to invest more for a good one. If I ever did an upgrade, I'd probably want something like the Index. But I'm not picking up an Index this year. I still don't believe that dropping $1,000 on it is the right decision either. For me, you got to get it down under 300, 400 at most. Like, I really don't want to pay more than $400 for a VR headset, even if it's great. And I understand why it's great now, especially after using this one and imagining how it could be upgraded. But $1,000. I say that, and like my smartphone is upwards of $1,000, but like, I don't, use my VR headset every hour of every day. Anyway, but yeah. To put things in perspective, Nintendo wants $500 for a Switch. True, but in a way, VR is still, at least in my mind, still a peripheral that, it's kind of hard to say. It's like an extension of your system, And I don't want to demean it or diminish it by calling it just a peripheral. I'm watching the time, by the way. We haven't come across an item in a while, I don't think, unless I missed something. I don't really want to diminish it by just calling it a peripheral. However, you already have to have a nice computer. You already have to put up with the fact that developers, they're trying very hard, but they're not putting 100% of their effort into it because it's still a growing industry. So you're not going to get the highest quality of games. You're not always going to get the same experience across the board like you would with a system. And yeah, so, and the fact that the industry is still growing and learning about what people like in VR, I think it's getting better every day. But the fact that it's still growing, it's like you're paying a bleeding edge tax. You're paying a cutting edge technology fee for being at that front end of entertainment, and that's exciting. It is exciting and very cool. It's definitely something that, you know, if you have the privilege to be able to do that, you should definitely realize it and be thankful for it. But and I was the person, like, I signed up to try Google Glass because I was excited about the potential for new technology. I still would love to play with a Google Glass and try it out. However, you know, it flopped. But at the time, I didn't have the career that I have now. So when it came out and they were like, okay, you're on the beta testing list, just pay us $1,200 and we'll send you a Google Glass. I mean, at that point I was like, no, maybe if you end up putting it on the market for like 200, 300. But anyway, as far as that's concerned, I love the idea of being on the bleeding edge. But there's a certain limit. There's a certain monetary limit where it's just entertainment. You can't let that cross over into like your retirement savings or like, you know, money for your children. All right, we've walked for 10 minutes. We got 2 pieces of paper in the first 2 minutes, and we've got nothing in the last 8 minutes. So I am inclined to turn around pretty soon. I'll give him another like minute and a half. I'll wait until we're like 3 till. Oh, it just ticked, so 1 more minute. We'll see if we get anything else. Once I'm in, and again, I can't go in with a headache. Like, I can't put a VR headset on if I already have like a minor headache. It'll just make it worse. Oftentimes if I have headaches, it's from eye strain or something like that. So I've made a lot of quality of life improvements that have prevented me from having any eye strain headaches anytime recently. But no, like, you know, I have to be in a good mood. I have to be in a good, like, I have to feel good to like jump into VR. And then, you know, I'll play for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then it's like, okay, I gotta take a break. My head is hot. My non-dominant eye feels like it's been getting the workout of a lifetime. That I think I have to pay around $1,240 for the index kit, shipping and whatnot. Is that converted to US dollars? I guess, yeah, with shipping, international, tax. Yeesh. My understanding is that it is the top-notch best there is out there, and I would believe it. But that being said, you pay for what you get, I guess. Oh, we turned around. Okay, yep, that's what I wanted to do. 1079 euro. What was the, forgive me for not being super worldly, what was the Swedish currency prior to the euro? Swedish krona. So they're, and Sweden's in the EU, right? I feel dumb now, but like, I guess there are certain countries that do use it and some that don't, right? Because yeah, The UK was still using the pound. Krona, I like it. Corona. Don't use cash money, you'll get that coronavirus. Oh no, now I'm gonna get censored. I better bleep that if I put it on YouTube or I'll never get monetized. So I'm assuming Krona, this is me just making an assumption. I'm assuming Krona is for like crown, from referring to the coins as crowns. So is the what's the conversion from 1 krona to 1 euro? Has that maintained roughly 1-ish? I always get confused when I'm speaking or listening, when I'm listening to like a Canadian streamer and they'll talk about the cost of something in Canadian dollars and it's just slightly different. Because it's like 10 to 15, I don't know what the conversion rate is right now, but it'll be like just a bit more. I'll be like, really? It's that expensive there? Let's see, what is it? Doesn't help that they call theirs dollars as well. 1 Canadian dollar is 70 cents US. So in reverse, 1 US dollar is $1.43 Canadian. So it's actually worse than I thought. Further than I thought. Not worse, I guess. Just different conversion rate. One's not better than the other necessarily. So it's a homophone. What does the E stand for in SEK? Swedish something krona, right? I always like converting to Japanese yen, because a yen, especially when a yen is close to a penny, because then it makes a lot more sense when I play games like Pokemon and I buy an apple for 100. Or beat a kid and win his lunch money in a bet and get 1,000 currency. Just to be fancy. It's like you needed another letter. Because USD makes sense, right? United States dollars. Very, very close. Yeah, SEK is 0.099 United States dollar right now. So it's like a dime. But it's very close to being like rounded off at like a tenth of a percent. SEK stands for SEK stands for Swedish krona. I think you might be right about using the E to be fancy. I just googled SEK stands for acronym SEK definition Swedish krona. There's no E. Now I'm obsessed and need to know. The E krona is a digital version of krona. Okay, I see that. I'm learning all about your money now. What does the E stand for in... Not Chuck E. Cheese. What does the E stand for in SEK? Depending on who you talk to, you can also use the abbreviation KR. Yeah, there's like none of the top results seem to mention what the E stands for. So many of these websites, they just say Swedish krona. Is Sweden often abbreviated SE in Sweden? Special snowflakes. It is. Okay, that I guess that would make sense. If it is. What is Sweden in Swedish? Because I know a lot of countries in the primary language of their country don't necessarily call their country the same thing as in English. To convert into web page language, SV equals SE. I will one day find out what the E stands for. I will hunt down. No. Repeat the question. Oh, I was asking, how do you say Sweden in Swedish? Like, for instance, Spain in English is Spain, but in Spanish would be like España, right? And in Japan, they call their country Nippon. Wow, I would butcher that if I tried to pronounce it. Swedish? Is it something ridge? Is it like Swedish? And so someone heard that and they were like, Swedish? This is how English speakers think. They're just like, I think he said Swedish. This guy over here. Oh, hold on a second. I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah. This guy over here said that he's from Deutschland, but his cousin's name is German, so we're gonna call them German. There's probably a better route than that. I sound like an idiot over here, but at least I'm punching down at my own English speakers for making up silly different names for other countries. When England went there first. When England went there for the first time themselves, came up with a completely different name. And there's just way too many examples of that, right? Like Americans calling our indigenous people Indians. It's so ridiculous. I hope you don't take my terrible pronunciation to heart. Now I need to hear this.
Sverige.
Really?
Sverige. Sverige.
Sverige?
Sverige.
I'm probably hitting my tongue in the wrong place in my mouth, I'm sure.
Sweden. Sverige.
I mean, it makes sense. I don't know enough of the dialect to know like which letters make the right sounds. Pretty okay. Hey, as long as I can have my effort described as pretty okay, I'm happy. At one point in my early 20s, I thought that I might like to learn a few other languages, because I have heard that it gets easier over time. Like the first language you learn almost naturally. The second language you learn can be pretty tough if you didn't grow up with it. And a third language could also, anywhere from 2 to 8 languages could be really tough depending on like coming from different regions. But then after a while, things start making more sense and coming together as far as dialects go. And I always thought that was really fascinating. And I thought that I might be interested in doing that. Didn't have the time really to delve into it. And now that I'm in my mid-30s and my brain wrinkles have solidified quite a bit, I couldn't imagine trying. The only vocabulary I remember from other languages are ones that I've learned in on packaging that has Spanish or French, or in Japanese subtitles from anime. I know very few words from other languages. Or people yelling at each other in foreign films. Sveinhund! I wish that America was more serious about teaching children other languages in school. They just kind of half-heartedly offer, like, usually 2 or 3 options. In the Southwest, at least, I know that usually the option is Spanish, but sometimes you'll get French or German options, but you really don't get Asian languages or Northern European languages. Swedish is a hard language to learn, probably a good language to learn seeing our export going on, but if you're going for versatility, I'd say German, Spanish, or French, yeah. However, if you're willing to apply yourself and learn a language like Swedish, I could imagine that would make you a bit more vulnerable. I could imagine that would make you a bit more valuable as a specialized asset, because there'd probably be fewer people who've learned it as a second language. I think we're going to send the shade home and we're going to switch games pretty soon. So we still got to wait for those mushrooms to grow. We got 2 pieces of paper. This is not very fulfilling session tonight, but hopefully it'll pay off next time. I guess I'm kind of thankful to have learned English as my first language, knowing how people describe it as being very difficult, and then looking back in retrospect, or as an adult rather, having learned enough about the language and hearing experiences from other people, knowing that in English, it's got all of these different sayings and things that come from so many other languages kind of combined. Some things that we refer to come from like a Greek or Latin base. Some of them come from like a Spanish base or a French base. So smashed up, so amalgamated. And then on top of that, having so many grammatical things that are backwards compared to other languages. It kind of blew my mind as a kid when I learned that, adjectives came after the noun usually in Spanish. I was just like, people can speak in different orders? Wait, I have a graphic for this. I'd say it depends. Swedes are generally pretty good at English as well, second language in school, but then again, knowledge is power. It's true. Honestly, we should probably all be learning Chinese right about now, don't you think? It's going to be Blade Runner before you know it. I have to say, back when I was kind of picking up on watching more Let's Play stuff in the last 10 years, maybe 5 years ago or more, I would actually watch quite a few streamers that came out of Sweden. Robaz is one. I'm trying to think of there was another guy I used to watch. He would stream Minecraft all the time. can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'm still subscribed to him on my YouTube channel, so I'd have to go check it out. And then I would watch PewDiePie back when he would stream in his early days, when he streamed like Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and games like that. As he kind of evolved, I kind of got out of the habit of watching him because I didn't really appreciate all of the trolling stuff and the politically incorrect stuff. Like, I mean, it just gets old after a while if you're an adult. But if I learned anything from them, it would be getting scared or pissed off and then going like, Helvet, or I don't know exactly how it goes. It sounds like Helvetica. I guess that was close, right? Helvete? Helvet? I don't know the pronunciation. It looks like that, but that would be like a Latin if. Anyway. Bloody hell. I've kind of always wanted to go to England and just see what kind of a reaction I got for having an American accent. Because accents also fascinate me. Like, of course, you know, regional dialects are usually pretty obvious to, you know, a speaker of language, if it's their first language. But I can't really hear dialects very well in other languages that I don't know enough about, which also makes logical sense. But I've always wondered how other countries that are a bit smaller even, like how differentiated their dialects are. Like England apparently has like 50 different accents. How do you have 50 different accents if you could walk from one side of the country in just a couple of weeks? It's the same there. Do you have like a northern accent and a southern accent? Do you have one that's like obviously a little closer to the European, to the other countries on the south side, and then one that's just like the fishermen from up north? Is that kind of how it is? Would you say the northerners have more of a like a rural accent, or is it more of like a closer to the city, has more of a uptight accent? That's just a random guess. Today is Josh Learns About Sweden Day. Or what about people who live near the border of Norway or Finland? Do they pick up the nearby neighbors' words and North Farmer? Stick in your ass. That happens as well. Because I've seen some stuff from Finland. I like the hydraulic press channel. They're from Finland, right? And then I don't think I've watched anyone out of Norway. However, my wife has told me about when she was in Japan, she was there with a lot of exchange students that were from Norway. She said that they came from money. So yeah, we will set him down. And we'll wait on those mushrooms. Let me check something really quick. So we have 28 books, 23 if you don't count the thoughts. You lived in Norway for a while? Do you interchangeably speak each other's languages? Very commonly? I don't think I've ever asked or found out how close Norwegian is to Swedish or Finnish. If they have similar roots or not. I have spoken with a friend of mine who speaks Spanish about Spanish in Mexico versus Spanish in Spain, and it's hilarious to listen to some of the differences that he'll point out. Let me prep the other game. We're gonna switch over pretty soon, but yeah, that'll be it for the longing tonight. And then I figure that we'll have a much more eventful episode next time if we can get that mushroom to grow correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away. It shouldn't take more than like a minute or two to switch over to RimWorld, but I'm going to get it loaded up and then I'll be right back. Oh, excuse me. And before I go, Strat says, nope, but we are very similar as far as language goes. And was I about to spend 6 to 8 months there, I'd speak their language again. Ah, gotcha. All right, Strat, I will be right back in just a sec. See you then.